he was kind of riding and shoveling nacho chips in his mouth, just like rah, actually, riding and shoveling nacho chips. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it. I just sort of like, sat down because somebody I was with was sitting at the table and they were talking, and I didn't want to like get in anybody's face, like somebody I admired like that. And and they had done a Richard Hell cover. That was the first time I'd heard him do that. They hadn't released anything like that, but he did "Time" from like that Richard Hell record that Alan Betrock put out, and he did a great version of "Time" by Richard Hell. And so I said, I really like that Richard Hell cover, and he's like, and he just looked at me, yeah, you like Hell? And I was like, yeah, and I was like, I was like, whoa, I didn't expect anybody, I didn't expect Mike Watt to, talk like that. I was like, well, yeah, I used to see Richard Hell a lot. He was like, when I was a teenager, I would go to New York, and one of the first bands I saw were the Voidoids, and I saw them any chance I could get. I saw a lot of gigs, and I saw him about 100 times. He's like, you saw Voidoids 100 times! I was like, yeah, and so he really became enamored by that. And I knew I had sort of struck a chord with this guy. And I sort of left him to his thing, and I was I didn't know what to think of him. And then I remember later that night somebody sang, we were sort of in a circle, and someone said like, hey, Mike, have you met Thurston? He's like, yeah, he saw Voidoids 100 times. Like he couldn't get over that. And then we came back and played L.A., and we played, one of the first gigs we did besides playing in the desert was at the Ante Club, and it was right before the desert gig. This big desert gig that Stuart Sweezy put on. And we played the Ante Club, and it was groovy. We sort of had fun, and Watt had come to see the show. And I remember him just standing like in the front while we were playing, like with his head down, just sort of like all ear listening mechanism on, just sort of like listening. And I felt really like, oh, man, I wonder what this guy thinks of what we're doing, because it's like, it's not exactly, tight on the bottle kind of music. It was kind of spazzed out, kind of something else. And he seemed to really like it, but he kind of disappeared. And then we did another gig at at Club Lingerie with Red Cross, and that band that did Mean Mr. Mommy Man. Mean Mr. Mommy Man. Giza X and Silver Chalice, is that what they were called? And and Watt was there too, and I was like, wow, this guy's coming to our gigs. It's like, because people weren't coming to our gigs. I think Rollins came to our gigs, one of our gigs like that time, and stood there and kind of and then Watt was around afterwards, and he had brought our records that we had put out up to that point. He had them with him. They were all kind of beat up and under his arm, and like he started slamming them down like in front of me, going, "Just sign this, dude, sign this!" And like I was like, whoa! And I was signing like Mike Watt's records of us, and that was totally tripping me out, because Watt was a really heavy dude for me. And then we went next door and went upstairs to this restaurant and to get something to eat, and we all ordered food, and he just ordered squid, because all I eat is squid. If I'm gonna go to a booze joint, they better have squid. So he ordered all this squid, and he was just like shoveling squid into his mouth and just eating. It was like, D-Boon likes squid, I was like, yeah, right. So that's the first real conversation I had besides the Richard Hell one, was talking about squid. So I had these two things, Richard Hell and squid, that I could, because I like squid too. I was kind of into it. So we kind of met on these two planes, seafood and punk rock, and it was kind of nice.